I am 5 games under 500 on the year at 17-22. It's not good. It's not good. It's bad. What a time it would be for a really big week for my best bets. Presented by FanDuel, of course, official sportsbook sponsor here at the Locked On Network. So all I needed was BYU or Penn State to win and cover, and we would have had a winning week. But didn't happen. Let's start with Miami, shall we? Everybody bought into Florida State, and they shot up the rankings, deservedly so, because they should primarily be based on merit. They beat a preseason top 10 team in Alabama. But Florida State, I think, showed you a little bit of who they were last week. They lost to Virginia, and the Cavaliers ran for 211 yards. This game is in Tallahassee. Miami is off a bye. That was a physical, hard-fought, drawn-out game last week. I like the Florida State is at home, at least. But Miami coming off a bye, and Florida State played a knockdown, drag-out game last week. Don't like this spot whatsoever for the Seminoles. I think Miami can run on them just as Virginia was able to, maybe with even more success. You know, Miami had success running the ball against Florida, who has a better defense than Florida State or Virginia, frankly. And I don't know the Virginia. I'm getting confused in my transitive property of matchups, and you get what I'm going for here. Miami was able to run the ball against Florida's defense, and they did so on a game where passing was hard because it was raining, and, well, yeah, that makes the ball a little bit slick. So Florida State last week didn't give me a lot of confidence with the ground game there. So give me the Hurricanes 28-17. I think they go into Tallahassee and get a win, and then they go back on a bye. I don't know what that is about. It's just one of the weirdest schedules, but Miami's managed it well so far, but they haven't gotten to the weird part yet. 28-17, Miami wins. One of my best bets of the week. I can't go away from them. I just can't. Not when I'm 2-0 picking them against the spread as an underdog this year. Give me Mississippi State in the points. 14.5 at Texas A&M is too many. I'll take the Aggies to win, but this Mississippi State offense for head coach Jeff Lebby is legit. We watched them put up 34 against Tennessee last week, covered by half a point in the overtime defeat, and you know what? I don't think it's crazy. As I talked about earlier this week, they go win this game outright. Texas A&M was kind of flat last week against Auburn. Texas A&M has peaks and valleys. They go up and down because the quarterback, Marcel Reed, goes up and down. When he marches them from one side of the field to the other, it looks impressive. When he doesn't, you go, that wasn't particularly good. I think Texas A&M wins. They're the better team. Mississippi State's not ready defensively, but they're taking a step forward. I like their offense. Texas A&M's defense has its moments, played well against Auburn last week, but that's Auburn. Their offense doesn't really know what it's doing. So I'll take Texas A&M 34-24. And Mississippi State plus 14.5. Another one I talked about earlier this week. Stoked to watch this game. Why? Because I'm a college football diehard, in case that wasn't obvious. Maryland plus 6.5 against Washington. The cross-country trips. This is why I didn't put Duke in my best bets, even though they'd only need to cover 2.5. When you're going from one side of the nation, from one coast to the other, it's challenging. Washington last year traveled to Rutgers, played a game in Piscataway. It didn't go particularly well. This is a better team, but they got dinged up against Ohio State last week. I think they'll find a way to win because Damon Williams is going up against Maryland's defense and not Ohio State's. But Mike Locksley could be looking like the surprise team in the Big Ten right now if he pulls this one off. No one is going to pick Maryland to win the game outright, nor am I, because I think Washington is better. I think Maryland makes this really interesting and fun. 31-28, Washington wins. Maryland covers the 6.5. Did you think I was going to ignore Vandy? I couldn't possibly, in good conscience, ignore Vanderbilt and Alabama. Two of the most shocking point spread money line upsets occurred last season in college football, and one of them, of course, involved the Vanderbilt Commodores. Who were they playing? Alabama. Now, what's really easy to think about when you ponder the Crimson Tide and Vanderbilt is, I don't know, the previous decades of however long you've been alive until the last 2 years, and you bake that into your head. I've talked about this with Indiana a lot. The Hoosiers suffer from anti-brand bias. They wouldn't get the knocks for their non-conference schedule or their resume last year in the playoff if they had a maize and blue helmet or one that was scarlet and gray, or frankly, green and yellow, maybe even navy blue and white. They wouldn't, but they do. So when you look at Vanderbilt, Alabama, you see 10.5, that's it. Bama's bouncing back. That was a fluke. This is a good Vanderbilt team that went to South Carolina, preseason number 11 team in the country, and throttled them 31-7. I know Lenore Sellers got hurt. We watched the game while he was playing. Vanderbilt was better. Vanderbilt is underrated in the AP poll. Their number, 18 in the AP poll right now? It's completely ridiculous because they are ranked far too low. And in my top 25 that I've got out on Twitter, you can check it out at LockedOn_CFB. Vanderbilt is higher than 16th. They're 11th, as a matter of fact. So I like Vanderbilt. They are more than a good story. They are, in fact, a good team. Diego Pavia is more than just a guy with awesome aura and swagger. He's a really good quarterback. And Clark Lee's doing a heck of a job. I do think Bama wins because this is at home. The Crimson Tide have figured something out. It is starting to click. It's starting to mesh. This is more. I'm not going to knock Alabama for winning this game if they go out and win by 15 to 20 points. I won't say, oh, see, Vanderbilt was exposed. They were front. Nope. My number 11 team in the country right now entering this game. Vanderbilt's higher in my top 25 rankings than Alabama. Why? They're more deserving. They have been more deserving up to this point. I don't think it's ridiculous that Bama is therefore favored. Those two things are not directly intertwined. Bama wins 34-27, but Vanderbilt covers the 10.5. And finally, this is off your radar, but I'm putting it right on your radar. Purdue is getting 9.5 points at home against Illinois. I think the Illini win 24-16, low-scoring game. Two reasons why I like Purdue to be able to cover the 9.5. Reason number one, the Illinois defense has been suspect this year. And Purdue's offense, when you're trying to pull an upset like this, what do you need to be able to do? Control the clock. Own time of possession. Keep the opposing offense off the field. Help your defense. Illinois' defense this year hasn't been as good as it should be. It was Luke Altmaier and the offense that shined last week, but the defense this year, kind of a disappointment to this point in the season. Maybe they have a get-right game in this spot. But Illinois is going on the road, giving up almost 10 points. I would like this a lot more if it were 10.5. Yes, admittedly. But I don't think Purdue has looked incompetent so far this year. Last time they were a pretty big home underdog was against USC. They lost, but they covered. I think they will do that again in this spot. So I'll take Purdue plus 9.5. Illinois wins 24-16. When you have an emotional, big-time win for Illinois, which they did last week, and then you have to go on the road and give up that many points, nope, I think that's too many. So best bets of the week, gosh, I would love nothing more than to just at least get a 3-2 week in here. I need it badly. Purdue plus 9.5, Vandy plus 10.5, Maryland plus 6.5, Mississippi State plus 14.5. I love underdogs this week. Miami minus 4.5 at Florida State is my one favorite. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.